respond a little bit on the title. There's time is getting, and you guys are each gonna, there's 25 minutes that you guys are gonna take up, so I appreciate it.
I'd like to address it.
Okay, well, we could do it after, when the meeting's over, anybody who wants to stay behind. Whoever asked about the traffic calming, please stay after the meeting. Christopher McCoy would like to address you. Okay, moving right along. I'm gonna have Loretta have you pick out numbers. Whoever picks out number 4, please put it back in, because if Serge does show up, he will be last since he's late. But, so it's up to, oh wait, there are 5, 4. So great, it actually worked out perfect, there were 4 in there. Have them pick out. It doesn't matter, because, yeah. For those of you who don't know, there's 4 pieces of paper here that numbered 1 to 4, so that it's fair. Whoever picks out number 1 will start speaking first, and 2, and so on and so forth, okay? No, John, you can't have 2. Even though anybody who doesn't live in Genesis, if you please leave your contact information and you are interested in helping, we are planning, we have slotted, we're just waiting on the date back from Home Depot. They have confirmed that for March, they will be helping us paint the next home in Genesis, and in April we will be painting one that Rita will get me the address, which is over in the Osborne community. We're very excited about that. We've got, Genesis has acquired 3 corporate sponsors that fund our community improvement projects. I basically go to them, tell them I want to do this, and they say how much, and if it's within their budget, I get a check, and that's how we do what we do in Genesis. We have 2 churches that stand behind us, that send me volunteers when I send them an email blast. So we're really excited, you know, about how we continue to affect our community. All right, who had number 1? Ryan? Please, take the podium. Thank you guys all for coming out. It's fair. Go ahead.
Good evening. My name is Ryan Meyer, and I'm running for District 4 Commissioner here in Lake Worth. I moved here in 1995 with my family. In 1998, I graduated from Berean Christian School. From 98 to 2000, I attended St. Andrew's Presbyterian College in Laurinburg, North Carolina. In 2002, I graduated from Richard Stockton College of New Jersey with my bachelor's degree in the performing arts. In 2002, I attended the graduate school at the University of North Carolina in Greensboro as a dance choreography major. Subsequently, I moved to Atlanta, Georgia, and worked professionally as a dancer and choreographer. At the same time, I attended the Paul Mitchell School and did an internship with world-renowned platform artist Maria Heckscher. I came back to Lake Worth in 2007 and purchased my home on 2nd Avenue South in 2008. Since then, I have been an active member of our city. I am an artist and a member of the Lake Worth artist community. I served on our sister city board here in Lake Worth. I have worked closely with environmental resource management to record the nesting habits of sea turtles on our beaches. In 2011, I purchased a vacant house across the street from my own and turned that into a rental property, which I still operate. I recently became co-owner and operating manager of Stella's Beauty Salon, a landmark in Lake Worth, opened in 1952. I love our city. I love that there is a charming coastal village where a working class person like me can still afford to buy a house, open a small business, and set down roots. People here obviously love the city too. That's why you're all here. And that's why people citywide get so passionately involved in our city's politics. And while we rarely agree, this passion defines us as the residents of Lake Worth. In 2013, we had a public vote regarding our height limits in the downtown corridor. Nearly 60% of people voted to keep those height limits. My opponent, Mr. Zerdi, and 3 other commissioners have decided of their own accord to not honor the outcome of that vote. They have chosen not to honor the will of the voters. Instead, they have cited some weak state statute that overrides the outcome of our public vote. That is not the way it's supposed to work. A commissioner has one primary responsibility: to enact the will of his or her constituents, the people. A commissioner should defend your will. My opponent, Mr. Zerdy, voted to hire an attorney to fight you on your will. My first action as commissioner would be to vote toward amending our city charter and honoring your will. I will work to improve our city's infrastructure with a plan that the people are comfortable with. I have been walking the streets for the past month and talking to residents in many parts of the city. I talk to very few people who do not want the roads fixed. I find it amazing that with that kind of support, that the commission has created a plan that slightly more than 50% of people voted down. To me, that suggests a failed, bad plan. We have a serious lack of transparency in our city government. The Gulfstream Hotel has been purchased. People want to know what the plan is for this property, and the city has refused to tell us. They pushed through legislation in 2012, basically granting themselves the right to keep public development information private. The way I see it, public development, public business is public information. This is our city. In the past 2 years, 4 of our 5 commissioners have walked into their positions of authority because no one ran against them. I cannot allow that to happen again. I represent a choice, a different point of view. Both sides see that Lake Worth is in need of desperate revitalization. As we approach that revitalization, I am the candidate who believes our guidance as commissioners should come through the will of the voters. I am a candidate of the people. Thank you very much for your time.
Number 2, please.
Speak up.
I get told that all the time that I don't speak up. Good evening.
Good evening.
How are you? My name is John Zerdy. I'm the current commissioner in District 4, which will have 2 people running against me. Last time I put my name out there, I actually went to 2 years worth of commission meetings prior to even deciding to run. I got involved in my city, and I got active, and I tried to learn the issues, not at the last minute, but for years. Now, I did move here about 9 years ago in South Pompey on 217. It was a house that was like you've seen around here. No one lived there. It was a 2-story house that meant for maybe 1 family above and 1 family below. But it was divided up in a number of pieces with stairs all on the outside, steel stairs that you couldn't even really walk up. I moved here with my family. I have 3 kids. They aren't living with me right now. They're all moved out, and one's still in university level. So we're empty nesters. But we didn't have a 4-bedroom house where we could move. And I chose to take this house that was ramshackled and put in many $100,000 into the property because I believed in this city. At the time I was building and working on Mr. Romano's Eco Center over here, which is across from the City Hall. Some of you know that building because I believe this city has an environmental side to it and concerns not only about trees and greenways, all right, but really about the way that the city can grow responsibly. I grew up in Fort Lauderdale, so I did a lot of swimming and fishing and all that. And I lived in the canals. I know what South Florida benefits are. And I didn't want to see this little area that still I could reminisce back of what was really fun to grow up here and raise a family. So I'm 62 years old and I have a lot of energy left, but my background is I'm an architect and I'm an environmental architect. I'm also a professor of architecture. I graduated from the University of Florida. I love the Florida Gators. I have a bachelor's and a master's. But I went through the community college system. And I teach at Indian River State College because I believe that we give all these kids a chance who can't really maybe go to the university first. So I have a true civic drive in me that's rooted. I've taught for almost 30 years from different places, from University of Florida, FAU, Broward, and now up there. So I have a deep desire to help. Also, I've been on the board for the Treasure Coast Palm Beach Regional Planning Council. That's across for 7 counties. I was chairman for the U.S. Green Building Council for Palm Beach and Treasure Coast. A member of the board for the U.S. Green Council for all South Florida. I was chairman for the Children's Home Society, founded by Dave Thomas, the Wendy's proprietor. I was chairman of that for a number of years, and I was president of the AIA, American Institute of Architects in Broward County. Wherever I start and put my feet down, I try to get into a position where I can do the most good and help. I saw an opportunity here. When I went to rebuild my house, I ran into so much problems with getting permits, and it was ridiculous, where I even had to redo windows in my house. So I went to the historic board. I needed to change every window out and put exactly the same size back. When I went to go get CO, one of our inspectors at the time said, well, you can't open that window, you're missing an inch for people to get out of the bedrooms on the 2nd floor. I said, well, I have carpenters that are twice the size of me getting in and out of there all day. And I went to the fire marshal at the time, Captain Carcillo, who said, let me come over there and take a look, because the historic board told you one thing, and yet you have somebody here kind of running interference. Well, he wrote me a letter, but it didn't matter. I ended up having to take those windows back out and do it. That really upset me. At the same time, now, over a year later, I move into the house, and I found out they're going to build a 5-story condo across the street from me. Why? Because the zoning codes conflicted with the historic compatibility guidelines. I did 3-dimensional modeling to help my neighborhood out. We fought that condo. It never existed. It wasn't really making a friendly gesture with my neighbors who were selling their property, but that didn't happen because it's all about compatibility. That's what I've been helping. I helped rewrite our land development codes, and besides, whatever you want to hear him say, believe me, we didn't raise the heights, we lowered it. We lowered the heights. And so we have code compliance with teeth, and we also are dealing with traffic calming is coming up right now in ours. So we will be looking at reusing the CDBG funds, and exactly what was said as far as road diet to reduce it is already in the works. But I'll be around to answer any other questions, and we're on track. If you think things are going wrong, you should let us know. We answer things all the time. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Commissioner Christopher McVoy.
All right, everybody up and stretch, or at least wave your arms a little bit. I think we've been sitting for a little while. I am Christopher McVoy. I've been a commissioner for 2 terms now, the last 4 years. Many of you know some about my background, a few of you might not. I came to Florida 20 years ago this year, to Lake Worth about 17 years ago. Been a homeowner, it's about 12 years at this point, and in Lake Worth. I first got involved in politics in Lake Worth. Before I say anything about that, I might add, in real life, what I am is a research scientist. I've worked all of my career, and I came to Florida to work on Everglades restoration. I'm a hydrologist and a wetland ecologist. Some of you who are lean toward the details will be aware that I wrote kind of the definitive book on what the Everglades were like in this area based on historical sources. In the process of doing the research for that, I also did a lot of research into the coastal area, because that was what was developed first, and then you watch the development moving westward into the Everglades. And so although I've only been in Florida 20 years, I can often talk with some of the older residents or read some of the older things and have some connection because of having that historical background. I got involved in Lake Worth city politics in about the mid-2000s, through the beach. There was a movement at one point by the then commission to change the zoning at the beach, which, as many of you know, is a public park donated to the city for the use of the residents. There was an inclination to change the zoning to allow a good deal more commercial activity there. And I knew from having been around the community that there were very many people who'd been married in the ballroom at the beach, people who had their courtships had happened before that at the beach, their kids had played there. They did not want it to be a commercial area. So we formed a political action committee. For our troubles, we got sued by this then city. Eventually that changed, the commission changed, and that all settled down. And we now have a very nice building there, a very interesting building, and a quite remarkable park around it. Those of you who have an interest in native plants in Florida will know that is almost all native plants there. I am astonished, as an ecologist, I recognize that right away. I'm astonished going to the beach and talking to people, have people come from Louisiana, from other states, and say, wow, it's pretty cool that you guys put native plants there. I go, how do you know that? Well, we know about that. So there are people who care. I think on the whole, the city has been doing reasonably well recently. Some of that is the overall uptick in the economy around the country. That's helping us out. We're also, I think, have done a number of things to make things work better here. We've lowered electric rates for a while. That is helpful. I think we need to do a lot more on energy efficiency to help people conserve, which is the best way to conserve your pocketbook. I would agree with the comments that Ryan Meyer made about the bond issue. I hear the same thing all around the city. People are very concerned about our roads and feel that, this is something we probably ought to work on. When we had a 50% vote, it doesn't really matter whether it was 5 votes yes, 5 votes no, it's 50%. That in my mind is a vote of no confidence. That says that we as a commission failed. We did not do a good job of presenting a plan that everybody said, yeah, we see the problem, we see the solution, boom, let's go, let's do it. Here's my checkbook. So I think we need to go back to the drawing board and really learn from what people felt. Why didn't you vote for it? Ask people what they felt and take that information and help make a better plan. And we're going to do some of that tomorrow evening. There's a public meeting at City Hall. The choice of my fellow commissioners was to restrict it and say, please come and tell us how to finance this. I did not agree with that and said so publicly, repeatedly. I don't think that's the right question. The question is, why did you not vote for this plan? It's our job, it's staff's job, it's technical people's job to come up with how to finance it. It's our job as residents to say, yeah, that's a good idea, I'll go with that. So we need to do a better job as a commissioning of listening to our community. Similarly, on some of the on the heights in the city, I know for a fact, going around the city, that people feel very strongly. The word that I hear most frequently is, Lake Worth has a certain charm. Okay, let's go around the room and ask people, it's during the election time, Commissioner. Think about what it is that it takes to make that charm. And what it is, how easy it is to lose it as you look to other cities in South Florida. My job is to help make sure that that charm stays here in Lake Worth.
Thank you.
Hello, everyone. My name is Craig Frost. I'm 48 years old, born and raised in the city of Lake Worth. Love my city so much, never left. I'm 3rd generation, my children obviously 4th generation. I work in the city, live in the city. The building I work in, my family built that in 1982. The bond issue, obviously that's a big topic. That's one of the reasons I got into running for commission. And the transparency issue with the bond issue. My property, don't want to get taxed out of it. We do need the infrastructure fixed in the main parts. There are some bad parts, but the money is there. There is money we have set aside to fix these roads. That's what we need to use. Excuse me, never done this before. I'm nervous. I do want to thank Mark for expanding the territories of Genesis, and hopefully we can work on the south end. That is one of my concerns also, was the main thoroughfares with the city of Lake Worth. Getting a clean up east of Wingfield is something that not just the residents, but people outside the city drive through and see the city. They look at it and look down on it. That's not what I like. I grew up here, I love the city. You know, all the amenities we have, I want to keep it looking good. I want people to come outside and see a city how it used to look. Want to move here, want to establish homestead, want to bring up their family in this city. It's nervous, like I said.
I'll put the timer on pause and see.
That's it. Totally out right now.
That's okay. It's okay. We're all human. It's gotta be scary, all these ugly people staring.
I did want to get in the commission. Mainly what I wanted to run for is, I'm very active in my neighborhood association. I do as much as I can. Before I got active with that, I was very active, still am with all my neighbors, my neighborhood right around me. Now I've expanded to the neighborhood association. Now I want to expand it to the district. I'm trying to get stuff handled in the district. I'm trying to go through the right channels, calling the city, calling my commissioner, calling the mayor. Got no response. This all happened last year. So I had to go last resort. I had to call the news channel. I had to take stronger action and get something done with that. So I believe my issue is the commission itself doesn't have that good of a relationship with its residents that it should. It's not really addressing the issue. As my situation personally, really is the south end. The south end, extremely ignorant as far as I'm concerned. East of Dixie, west of Dixie, either way, the whole entire south end is extremely ignorant. We do need to clean it up. We do have a neighborhood associations that do a very good job. I think we need to have a much better relationship between the commission and the neighborhood associations. Also, we have a big problem with crime. We need to be held accountable. We need to hold accountable is our sheriff's office. They do a fine job, but the problem is right now is our commission or city manager, whoever is the one supposed to hold them accountable, we're not getting the officers we're supposed to have, according to our contract. I've been told by friends of mine, we have 4 districts. There's been times throughout the middle of the night on midnight shift where we only have 2 officers. 2 officers where we're supposed to have 2 per district. This is another thing we need to hold the proper people accountable for to get stuff taken care of so we can have a safer city. Yeah, I think that's pretty much it. Yeah, I think that's pretty much it.
I have an update. I just got a call while Commissioner McVoy was speaking from Serge Jerome, and he just arrived at his destination out of town. He had a family emergency. He couldn't give me any details. He sounded kind of flustered. He said he would call me later on to give me the details, but he did want to at least have me address everyone who did come out and apologize on his behalf that he had a family emergency that he could not be pulled away from, and he did apologize. So I just wanted to make sure that he was given fair exposure, that it wasn't that he just shunned us. I will say on his behalf, because he did assist Genesis, that when I was on vacation the first 10 days of the new year in Atlanta, very much deserved vacation after what I had been through in 2014. But my mother called me, and said there was a young man that I used to volunteer and assist at the Lake Worth High School band, who is now in college, who was 2 weeks away from being homeless with his family, with his younger sister, a minor, and a younger brother, a minor, who he's been made responsible for. And I couldn't let that happen. And I called Serge and asked for help, and he coordinated the day I landed. He knew the day I was landing, and he called and told me, we will meet tomorrow after church in your mother's living room. Bring the family. He awarded that young man a $1,000 scholarship to Palm Beach State University towards his tuition, which he is presently attending. And his church has, as of this past Sunday, which I attended to thank them, the congregation has collected $300 towards a housing fund for this young man and his family so that they won't be on the street, and he has negotiated with the landlord an extra 30 days so that this family will not be sleeping in a car. So I just wanted to state that. Very briefly, once again, a call to anyone who does live in District 1 who would like to be a member, please, and those of you who aren't, I'll say this, and I'm seeing some faces who have always been to Genesis events anyway, even though they're from other parts of the city. That's how we work. Personally, I'd like to thank Katie, who helped us paint Sue Grant's house, a woman who was going to lose her house because she was going to start getting fined $250 a day, who had just lost her nephew back early April when that ferry turned over. The first family member about to finish college and become a doctor, and he was killed in that. So she was really distraught, and we were able to at least bring her some light and save her home from being fined $250 a day. We painted it. We had a lot of fun that day, Katie can tell you. If you guys permit me to, when we do have our next event, I'll give you a call, see if you're available, and you can come out and see how much fun Genesis has. You know, when we're helping somebody else, and the joy that spreads to everyone involved, the recipient and those who work. I will also apologize, I haven't heard from her, but obviously either work or some other engagement. Ms. Tia Vega is the marketing director for Oasis Rehab and Health here on 12th Avenue. And that was something also that I was able to arrange while I was away in Atlanta. We spoke via Facebook, and she became very interested, said she had followed up on what Genesis was doing and wanted to bring her business as a member. So they are formally our first member of 2015, our first new business member, and they are also now the third corporate sponsor that will help sponsor our community improvement events. So I'd like everybody to be aware of that, how grateful we are to Oasis and Tia Vega, the marketing director, for that. We will be meeting with Loretta to institute the Neighborhood Crime Watch program that Mary Lindsay customized. It was a standing program with the sheriff, but they wouldn't let neighborhood associations implement it if we didn't have a block captain for every block, which anybody who knows our demographics of our area and our geographics, that's literally impossible, because some blocks are 3-4 blocks, and how do you decide where it ends? And, well, long story short, Mary was able to negotiate and get approval from the city and the sheriff that is no longer required to have a formal neighborhood association Crime Watch. So we will be instituting that in 2015. I am going to be attending REAP. I am already registered, starting March 10th for hopefully, pray for me, for a $5,000 grant. And also Keep America Beautiful. We have scheduled a cleanup for 7th Avenue South in April. The date will be posted on our website. And that will also make us eligible for a $1,000 grant that has been earmarked to repurchase banners, because the 12 that we had installed 3 years ago, the wind did away with eventually. Once again, thank you all for coming. Anybody who wants to ask the candidates anything personally, please stay. We have some time, about half an hour probably, before they start trying to throw us out to shut out the lights. Pick their brains. These, you have